It's hump day. I'm in a phone booth here in New York City. I'm in a trade show, so I'm not in my usual haunts. And Stuart is in his home, in his office down in Florida. And we've been talking a lot about politics. We've talked about COVID. We've talked about a lot of things ad nauseum, Stuart. And what's crazy is that one of the best episodes we ever did, and where people really reacted positively, was about Bitcoin. And this is going back a few months ago. And what's really interesting is how many people have come back and again and said, hey, this crypto business, I don't really get it that well. And moreover, is it really what it is going to be? Like, I should be investing in it because it's going up, but then it goes down. What do I do? So, Stuart, since you're an expert, well, a lot more than me in this area, and an investment advisor by trade, why don't you take us through this whole business and help some of our listeners and viewers figure this out?
All right, everybody. So I'm going to sit here, stare at the screen, and kind of give you a line by line. All right. I'm a financial advisor. This presentation is intended as an investment advice. You should never, ever, ever do without your own due diligence for buying and selling anything, including a Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies or similar assets. In fact, I'm going to disclaim that for any investment you make, you should really, really, really do your research. And I'm going to bring up a screen, David, and thank you. So Bitcoin and blockchain, there's my disclaimer. I'm a partner and managing partner at Cumular Asset Management. It's a brief history of money. It's a slippery slope since President Nixon, did what's called QE, right? This is what Bitcoin is. Satoshi Nakamoto, if it exists, doesn't exist, is the logic decentralizing of money. Bitcoin needs a blockchain. There's no way around it. There are positives, there are negatives. And, I hate to tell you, it is not a currency. No money. It's a barter system. It's very efficient, right? Ancient times, we used to use gold and silver, right? Because it was a store of value. It was a medium of exchange. It was a unit of measure, right? In the 1700s, they created money, paper money you can touch and feel, but it was always backed by gold and silver. Like a pound of sterling converts to a pound note into a pound of silver. That's the whole concept. Sterling, silvers, pounds. This was all about currency. The modern times became fractional reserve banking, where only a partial was backed by gold or silver. For example, banknotes were 10% gold or silver, as an example. This slippery slope was all because of President Nixon. So President Nixon decentralized the US dollar at a fixed rate of $35 an ounce. Do you remember when gold was $35 an ounce, David?
No, not even close.
Well, I was born the year that this happened, right? August 1971, I was a couple of months old. They abandoned the anchor. But why am I talking about gold? I'm supposed to be talking about Bitcoin because all of this is related, right? The Federal Reserve expanded its money supply to boost the economy, right? In the late 70s, foreign currencies could now fluctuate versus the US dollar. Anyways, that's how everything got pegged against the US dollar. The financial crisis with 2008, there were desperate needs for liquidity. The Fed began quantitative easing, QE. How were they able to do it? President Nixon, August 1971. The Fed buys assets, treasury bonds, pumps them into the economy, creates monies and bonds, right? This is the whole concept. So in Nakamoto's argument, right, who's the founder of Bitcoin, paper money is not reliable. Central banks, governments can create money out of thin air, right? Gold is better, but less useful in an electronic age. So there became the creation of a digital currency. Remember, it's not a currency.
Bitcoin. Okay, so wait a second, Stuart. So, Stuart, if I'm understanding correctly, in reality, what they're trying to do is to create digital gold?
That was initially how it was framed. And that was Nakamoto's concept that this should be the digital gold. Sorry, I'm bringing both monitors together here. Wow. So, and the problem is that if you don't understand how this all came about, you're going to make a mistake. So it was a medium of exchange, but it's not a store of value. Anything that fluctuates 30% cannot be a store of value. Bitcoins are created by being mined. The anchor is limiting the supply to a max of 21 million coins, but now as of 2020 was like 16.8 million. We don't know where the others went, right? It decentralized the ledger from a bank, removing bank fees, right? Sounds awesome. How many people pay bank fees? It's crazy. But it also gave this whole concept of no one knows who owns it. It's not taxable, right? Because no one knows who owns it. It's a secret. It's an
So Stuart, I'm going to ask you a question here, because what you're just saying right now is nobody knows, nobody knows, nobody knows, but yet the values, the market trade of these cryptos is through the roof. So what's the secret sauce here? Why are people believing that this is the way to go?
David, okay, let's first back up before this is a way to go. I'll remove that word. People living in oppressive governments like Venezuela, Iran, Zimbabwe, they're unable or incapable of moving money or hiding it from their governments or having any naturalized value. Like in Zimbabwe, it's like $20 billion for 10,000 US. I mean, can you imagine carrying a room full of money? And you can't. So the purpose of Bitcoin, to keep it away from these banana republics, it's a real concept. Venezuela, Russia, in the United
China,
States, if you're a drug dealer, well, China as well, but China regulates their internet. And so I don't really know what the Chinese government can control, but nevertheless, let's get through the negatives of Bitcoin. You can't the ability to transfer securely and anonymously attracts drug dealers, terrorists, money launderers, murderers, right? Sex traffickers, coyotes, right? Bitcoin is traded in venues like online trading where Bitcoin's being hacked or stolen. So there's a
Stuart, I'll give you another example where I just saw this on the weekend, is that now Bitcoin is being accepted in some cases as deposits or even full-blown payment for real estate. It's just another way to bury, money.
Yes, and it's a way of storing patents. Microsoft and Apple store their patents on the Bitcoin so they can never lose their patents. Right?
Interesting.
So it's in the blockchain. But again, that's something else. Let me continue on. It's, when you think about Bitcoin, it sounds smart, but it's an anarchy instrument. How are you paying for your roads, sewers, water, electrical grids? Where is the government going to get money to do that? So Bitcoin is out of that loop. So no government is going to allow it to exist without taxation, right? It's an anarchy.
Right, of course.
Right. So, when the volatility can be 30% in a day, it's not a store of value. It can't be. Argumentatively, you can make money on baseball cards. Let me give you an example, because you talked about theft. Here we go. I got a Reggie Jackson baseball card.
Oh, how old are you?
I know. I got a Dwayne Wade rookie card. That card is signed and sealed and minted, and it's on my wall. You break in my house, you got to get through alarm, you got to get through my door, you got to get through my
Don't tell everybody all your secrets. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, you got to break through everything to get that card. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. I hack your computer. I hack the cold storage. Your computer dies. Why am I mentioning your computer dies? There's a very famous story of a guy in Heathrow International Airport, a hedge fund guy, whose laptop died. He had about $20 million of Bitcoin.
Wow.
Bitcoin was $1,000. Took the hard drive, threw out the laptop, came back to America, and lost $20 million because the laptop and hard drive are all part of this encryption process. Now, there's a lot of other ways called cold storage, but if Apple, the government, can be hacked, Do you think cold storage can't be hacked? Do you think you're safe holding some code? It's just ridiculous. I'm a big fan. Like, let's all do another thing. The number of Bitcoin retail transactions that can be processed is a very, very low number because of the processing demand of power. It's about 3 seconds versus 56,000 transactions per second. There's a lot of negative, right? There's pyramid schemes, there's fake coins, there's Ponzi coins. What's the right coin? What's the wrong coin? So let me just continue to bring back some conclusions, because I'm going to burn through our time. Number one, if you had $100 million and wanted to buy $1 million of Bitcoin, go for it. Makes sense for you, maybe. Talk to your financial advisor. But if you got $100,000 in the bank and you want to buy 2 Bitcoin, all your eggs in one basket, you're the fool at the dinner table. But if you wanted to buy $5,000 of an ETF of variety of coins, that may be the right way to go for you. You really got to look at this. This is high risk. Beanie Babies, comic books, at least I can look at it. I can touch it. I can feel it. But a Bitcoin, you cannot. There are pizza shops that took Bitcoin 20 years ago, right? Not 20 years ago, a decade ago.
A few years ago. Yeah, right.
And it exists. There are fast food restaurants that are taking fractional Bitcoin.
Stuart, we know that the madams in Vegas were taking Bitcoin because it was a way to keep their clients anonymous. We're seeing these transactions happening. My question, though, Stuart, and as we sum up and we get to this quarter hour here is, you said it's high risk. Look at your crystal ball. Right now, Bitcoin fluctuates in ridiculous amounts. Are we going to see, or could we see it being $100,000 or back to 1,000? Look at that volatility.
No, this is a different stock. This is FPF. It's an ETN. It's chain dated note. I want you to look at the red, the green, the up, the down. No one knows what tomorrow is going to be, right? And again, right. I have no crystal ball. Listen, if you take a portfolio and invest a portion of your assets, you got to be really careful if you pick an ETF for Bitcoin or if you buy Bitcoin. There are people making hordes of money. I can make money trading diapers. I can make money trading nitrile examination gloves. I can make money trading masks, hand sanitizer, COVID tests. You can make money in just about anything. Sex trafficking, right? It's crazy. Bitcoin seemed to be a lot more legit in theory. But remember, it's not a store of value. Remember, it's not a tangible currency. Remember, it is not backed by anything. No government, no silver, no gold, no diamonds. And
so basically what you're saying is I'm either going to win big or lose big.
You can win big. I know guys that have made millions and millions of dollars. Very close friends. And you know what? I have stayed out of the Bitcoin market to my detriment because it doesn't fit my investment policy. It's like a ship sets sail. Eventually it will normalize. Eventually it might normalize. Eventually it may be backed and regulated. But until the day that it is, like Amazon launched its coin, Facebook has its coin. Eventually there will be a normalization of a digital currency. If we grew up in Canada, you may recall the Canadian government did a lot of experiments of giving all student aid on debit cards. That was the beginning of understanding digital currency, that old adage of a digital bank card. David, we're coming to the end. It's a pleasure seeing you wearing a sports coat. You look professional once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Snookums.
And I thank you for letting me rant about this. But David, there is no way in a quarter hour we can talk and take questions. So what I want, David, is any of our viewers or listeners, send us messages. We're going to come back with a Bitcoin conversation with questions, with your name, with graphs and charts and blurbs. We got it.
You got it. Folks, We love you. Thank you so much. Catch you on Friday. Well, maybe we'll go back to politics. Maybe we won't. You're going to have to wait till Friday to find out. Have yourselves a great week, folks.